All right. Folks, we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Steve Cavanaugh. Thank you all for attending. It's most definitely, they say, the best for last. Here we are. Thank you all for coming. I hope everybody's had a great weekend here at the REI Expo. I want to thank the REI Expo and everybody on staff for putting this on. It's been a great event. We've been glad to be a part of this great event here. I'm going to present to you today the 5 biggest mistakes investors make and how to avoid them. I am a real estate investor. I'm a coach, and I'm the co-founder of the Southern Maryland Real Estate Investors Group. I'm going to talk about all that stuff here in a little bit. Before we get started, I just want to let you guys know, Ron Pickrell, who's in the middle back here, and myself, we run the Southern Maryland Real Estate Investors Group. We meet the third Tuesday of every month, 7 to 9 p.m. at the Custom Kitchens and Baths by Design in La Plata, Maryland. The meetings are free, and they're open to the public. You can come when it looks like a topic that's going to be something that you're interested in. And you don't have to come on the other time. It's fine with us. If you'd like to get on our email list, please see my assistant Emily in the back. She's got some brochures for you. And you get on our email list. We do not sell your email addresses to anyone. We do not share your email addresses with anyone. And we do not spam you. We send out an email every month, and that's it. And it's strictly information about our meetups. This meeting is actually this Tuesday. We try to bring in featured speakers. It's not a come in and pitch them type of event. It's really a networking type of event. So we try to keep the content at a 90% good meat. And we ask our speakers to bring in some good meat and not just sell stuff. So please get on our email list and come see us. Here's what we also do is we'll go out and we'll do home tours and stuff like that. Here is my mentor, Steve Cook, came to speak to us, came all the way down from Wisconsin to speak to us in September. We had 75 people at that meeting. Many of you in the room were at that meeting. So I want to tell my story here the first half of the class today so you guys know where I came from. So who am I? Well, I've been investing in real estate for 10 years. I've done hundreds of deals. I've done wholesale deals. I've done rehab deals. I've done buy and hold. I own some rental property, joint venture with people. Today, I primarily run 2 businesses. I run a rehabbing business in Southern Maryland, and I run a coaching group in Southern Maryland. I also do some national real estate investing consulting. I'm part of Steph Davis's Ask the Flip Bips. If anybody's ever heard of Steph Davis, she is an internet celebrity with regard to wholesaling houses. She runs a website called flipthiswholesaler.net. You guys want to check it out. She's a very good resource for learning how to wholesale. And she's got a nationwide following, and I do 1 call with her coaching students per month. And that's a nationwide call where folks who are interested in wholesaling get on the phone line and speak with us about wholesaling properties. I am a member of Steve Cook's Flip Bip Mastermind. Steve Cook, before we moved to Wisconsin about 5 or 6 years ago, was one of Baltimore's largest investors. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, Steve Cook was definitely, everybody in Baltimore knew who Steve Cook was. We're going to talk about how I came to know Steve Cook in just a little bit. But being part of a mastermind group has been the biggest thing that I've done for my business. I've been actually coaching with Steve's been my coach ever since I got started. And then about 6 years ago, he asked me to become part of his private mastermind group. And here we are, hanging out in different parts of the country. We meet 3 times every year in different locations. Here we're out in New Orleans. And there's Steve Cook. You might recognize Craig Fuhrer. Anybody recognize him? There's Captain Pete. And here's Joe McCall. And there's Steph Davis right there. So, Sean McCloskey as well. So, really brilliant real estate minds in my mastermind group from all across the country, doing all different types of real estate investment. Here's me. I'm also a musician. Me playing the guitar up here. I teach Introduction to Real Estate Investment at the College of Southern Maryland. You recognize Craig Fuhrer, and then Vern Vaughn is a pretty well-known wholesaler in the DC Baltimore area. Craig, Vern, and myself did an event 3 years ago called the REI Brainwash. And here is a bus tour. I try to do a bus tour every year. and I try and do it in my office, a smaller van tour boot camp every year. This is one we did last year. So more about me, like I said, I have taught the Introduction to Real Estate Investment at College of Southern Maryland, co-founder of SOMDREIG. I run a successful rehabbing business in 10 hours or less every single week, but it wasn't always like this. I'd like to tell you my story. My life before investing. So I graduated from college. I graduated as a communication arts major, which meant that I had a lot of fun. My tests weren't really that hard. I came out of college, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew somebody who was able to offer me a job in the government IT sector, making $32,500 a year. Well, coming straight out of college without having to go on to any sort of interviews or anything like that, that was the most money that I had ever heard in my entire life. So I said, well, where do I sign? Sign me up. So I took the first job that was offered to me right out of college, and I started the 9 to 5, and it was more like 9 to 6 or 7 lifestyle, commuting 1 hour each way, living paycheck to paycheck. Of course, I was out of college, so I had student debt, car loans, all that good stuff. Like I said, I worked 12-hour days, government contractor, IT, 1 hour commute each way. Who knows what it's like to commute 1 hour each way? Right, good, good. Not a whole lot of fun, right? Who remembers pagers? Do they still have pagers anymore? Has anybody ever had to wear a pager? Yes. Has anybody in here ever been on call? How much fun is that? It's terrible, right? So I used to have the pager, boop, you know, in the middle of the night, and you've got to either hop up and get on the computer or make a phone call, or worse yet, drive into work. Has anybody ever had to do that? It's horrible. It's a horrible way to make a living, right? Who here has ever had multiple weeks of vacation saved up at their job, but then always felt guilty going to their boss to ask for those days off, even though they were rightfully earned by you? It was very hard for you to ask them off, right? So you got the 2 weeks vacation, yes, but you didn't really want to go ask for it off. So, you know, at that time I was relying on the company that I worked for. Life revolved around their priorities and not mine. I went from this happy, having fun, yes, I've got this job, it's paying me all this money that I thought was just so much money, it was so great, to 4 short years, long years later, overweight, sad, depressed, sitting at my desk just, oh my gosh, you know, here I am, doing this IT job. I was doing customer support, which was great because I learned how to work with people who were irate. I learned how to work with all different types of people, but here I'm getting yelled at on the phone, taking a picture of myself with my cell phone to entertain myself. How silly is that, right? So, here we go. Sorry. So, people always ask me, well, Steve, how did you get started in real estate investing? Well, I had an IT job. So, one of the benefits of having an IT job is a lot of times you have a lot of downtime, right? So, that led me to flippinghomes.com. And at the time, I had a couple buddies in the office that I worked in, and we were always kind of scheming, like, what's a good way to make money? And real estate investing was a current theme. And one of my friends said, oh, there's this cool site, flippinghomes.com. So I went on, and it turned out Steve Cook owned that website. And he has since sold it. But back in its heyday, it was one of the biggest real estate investing informational sites on the internet. And it had a great forum on there that was frequented by people from all over the country in the areas of flipping homes. So that's how I learned about his boot camps. Raise your hand if you've ever been to any type of real estate investing boot camp. Okay? Most of the room, very good. And I don't remember exactly how much it was. I know it was over $1,000. I know it was $1,000 more than I really had. But I saved up $1,000 to go to his first boot camp, not really knowing what to expect. But I went and I learned a lot of really, really good stuff. It reinforced the stuff that I was reading on the internet, and I just kind of spent a few days at his boot camp learning A to Z. I came home and I immediately started to implement what he talked about. More on that in a little bit. At the same time, I was working with a couple buddies of mine that was in the office that I worked in, and one of my buddies said, well, I know this one woman who was friends with my mom. She's a very successful lady, and she happens to have an office right across the street from our office. I think I can get us an appointment at lunchtime. Why don't we go meet with her? I said, I'm all for that. So the three of us trekked over there, and we met with this woman. She owned a very successful loan brokerage and real estate brokerage, and she herself had done tons of residential deals, commercial deals, made loans, the whole 9 yards. This woman, she's an older woman, very successful, very flattered at the idea of 3 young gentlemen coming in to learn something from her. So it was awesome. What we would do is we would take about 15 minutes every single day, and we say, we don't mean to bother you, but we just want to learn whatever kind of knowledge you can impart on us, and she loved it. She called us her 3 young entrepreneurs. So we went, and she became sort of a local mentor. We didn't have a professional mentor type of relationship, but she was more than happy to share information with us and point us in the right direction. So working with her led me to my now infamous deal, the 6-figure wholesale deal. It's a deal that everybody asks me about all the time, right? So she sat us down, and by this point in time, one of the other guys, one of my other buddies, was going through some marital problems, and he had some other stuff going on in his life, and he kind of backed away from it. He said, guys, this is on you. I just don't have the time right now to pursue it, and a couple other things, but the bottom line is he stepped away from it. So it was just me and one other guy, and she sat us down and she said, guys, here's the tax maps. And this is back, when it was all spread out in the big, has anybody ever seen the big tax maps? Now you can do it all on the computer. And then you have the big volume that cross-references. So you've got all the tax roll in there. So she took out the map and she said, this subdivision right here, and she put her finger on it. She said, builders are starting to build in there like crazy. You guys would do well to do mail letters to that subdivision and see if you can get anybody to call you that might want to sell you those lots. And I said, well, what are we going to do? What are we